Here with more, Colin Reed, he's a Republican strategist, Steve Hilton, host, of course, of The Next Revolution, and Robin Byro, a former campaign director for then President Obama. Good to see you all.
Hey, Ed.
Robin,
Thank you, Ed.
as the Democrat here, please answer Democrat Jim Clyburn, who says there's been a series of unforced errors for your frontrunner.
Oh, that's the understatement of the week, Ed. Look, much like our current president, Joe Biden's own mouth right now is his own worst enemy. The comments about segregationalists, I understand the sentiment of saying that, he's old school. He remembers a day when you could talk civilly with people you disagreed with. I understand the sentiment. It's the wrong message that we need right now. I'm more concerned about his comments, though, that were made at a high-dollar donor event where he said that fundamentally nothing would change for people of high net worth regarding the tax plan. That's going to be a problem for my party going forward.
Steve, I'm also struck by it's not just conservatives going after him. Now you have mainstream media, ABC News chasing him around about Hunter Biden's business dealings. And the Washington Post just a couple hours ago came out with their weekly feature, The Worst Week in Washington, and they ran through every single thing that went wrong from him. What's going on when people in the mainstream media are saying, hold on a second here?
Well, Ed, I would say about time too. I mean, on my show, we've been setting out the gory details of Joe Biden's connection to China in this corrupt manner and Ukraine for weeks and weeks now, and I'm glad to see that people are catching up. I mean, the truth is that, the controversy over the segregationist comments, I think we can just put that down as another Biden gaffe. But, I don't think anyone seriously believes that he's racist, but I think that it's clear now when you look at the evidence that he is corrupt. And the reason this is important from a policy perspective is that there is no bigger issue for the next president than confronting China's rise. China has said very clearly they want to topple America as the world's superpower and impose their vision of authoritarian state capitalism on the world. Joe Biden is compromised by China. While he was vice president, he took billions of dollars in bribes in the form of payments to his son's businesses. Now, I use that word bribes very, very carefully.
Right. He would push back, obviously, very hard and say, though, it was not a bribe.
In terms of those payments to his son's businesses, well, if Steve, it wasn't to influence Biden as vice president in respect of policy towards China.
Pardon me for interrupting, but the former vice president would obviously insist they were not bribes, but you're certainly right that they're going to be coming under scrutiny. I want to bring in Colin as the Republican. When Rudy Giuliani a few weeks ago raised questions not just about China, but Ukraine as well in terms of business dealings for the former vice president's son, some people mocked him. It seems like these are very much on the table, Colin.
Yeah, ABC blew the story wide open, and it feels like there's a lot of layers of this onion yet to unpeel, and the intersection of money and politics and using one's government position to enrich your own personal interests sounds pretty familiar, Ed. It reminds me a lot of what Hillary Clinton dealt with, the allegations she faced with her family foundation back in 2015. And if you ask me, that's what sunk Hillary Clinton above all else, was the idea that she was using her position in D.C. to sink her presidential ambitions. And that's the thing that Biden is now facing, and it's coming from ABC News.
Sure. I want to get back to Robin, but quickly I want Steve to jump in because you're nodding.
Well, that's exactly right. Look, people in this country want change from the swamp and the corrupt system. That's why they voted for Donald Trump as an outsider. It's that same election all over again this time if they nominate Joe Biden, because he is the ultimate insider swamp creature of D.C., just like Hillary Clinton was.
So, and on that note, Robin, because you've been honest about saying that while you have great respect for the vice president, you're not necessarily supporting him. You've got an open primary that's going on. The debates start off next week down in Miami for the Democrats. But get to Colin's point about the fact that last time Democrats heard it's Hillary Clinton's turn, she gets the nomination, and it's not just the emails, it's past speeches, it's the business dealings, the foundation. With Joe Biden, there is a target-rich environment for this president of Senate votes, speeches, and gaffes.
Exactly correct. And look, Joe Biden's a friend of mine. I respect him, and he's been very kind to my family. But there's an argument to be made that it's time for new blood. And you know as well as the rest of the panelists here that the longer you've been in Washington, the more dirt they have that they can dig up on you. Joe Biden's done a lot of good, but there's plenty. And in the lead to the segment, his mouth right now is really his own worst enemy. That's my concern, because we don't know what else could come up.
Steve, where do you see this primary process going?
I've always thought that Joe Biden, in the end, will fail to get the nomination because of these problems, not just the gaffes and the fact that he keeps making mistakes, but actually the fact that he's the wrong candidate for the Democrats if they want to beat Donald Trump. And the corruption with China, I think, will get more and more to the foreground if he becomes closer to getting the nomination. I think it could totally derail him because it's such a fundamental policy problem.
Colin, I've got 30 seconds. You've been very aggressive in going after Elizabeth Warren over the years as a senator. As Biden has struggled a bit, she's one of the people who's benefited.
She has, and I think Biden dodged a real political bullet, that he's not on the stage with her next week and that they're on different stages, because Elizabeth Warren's disdain for Joe Biden is well documented and goes back many years, and she could just disembowel him on a debate stage. And that won't happen next week, but it will down the road if they're both still in this race.
We shall see. If she dominates night one, she may have the stage to herself. We'll see. The former vice president goes on night two. Gentlemen, appreciate you all coming in.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Ed. See you soon.